Welcome to the SEC Unfiltered channel. I am your host, head college basketball analyst Dave Shumate, reacting to it. We usually come live to you right after the game, but last night, the internet went out. We had most people, I think, across the Southeast and across the country had some storm issues. So I hope everybody's okay, but I'm bringing it to you this morning. Again, maybe not go as long, 15, 20 minutes, but we do have 5 games to go over, and we have a couple that were massively impactful. So let's get to it. But before we do, this reaction is brought to you by our proud title sponsor, FANDUEL.com/SECU, to join today and get started with $150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet, folks. But let's get to it. Let's go again. I don't think this game was as, you know what? We're gonna go Texas. The Texas overtime win over Mississippi State, 87-82. Texas is like the Undertaker when they're down for the count, and you think you got him winning. He just sits up and does the dead man sit up. That's what Texas is doing. That's what the SEC bubble's been doing week to week, folks. But Texas gets the 87-82 overtime win in Starkville against Mississippi State. Texas shot 48% from the field, 47% from beyond the arc. Mississippi State shot 39% from the field, 24% from beyond the arc. Texas out-rebounded Mississippi State 42-39 plus 3 in rebounding margin. 16 turnovers, and Texas still won the game on the road. You don't see that a lot. 15 plus turnovers on the road, that's usually a recipe for a loss. Absolutely, for sure. Texas really controlled most of this game, was up for a lot of it, got outscored by 5 in the second half. I mean, Tremont Mark was really good, 24 points, 9 for 13 from the field. Josh Hubbard, 16 points, not his best effort, but again, I mean, that shows you how good he is when we're disappointed in that performance. But for Texas, that was the biggest win they'd had all season. That was a big boy win. Trey Johnson, 23 points. Caden Shedrick, 10 points. Arthur Kaluma, 10 points. And he had Tremont Mark off the bench with 24 folks. For Mississippi State, I mean, you had R.J. Melendez finish with 15. Cam Matthews with 12. You had 4 out of 5 starters in double figures. Riley Kugel with 12. Josh Hubbard with 16. I thought Mississippi State's lack of sense of urgency early got them in a hole. I mean, I think the largest lead Texas had at one point was, 12 in the first half. So I thought that was a little troubling. If you're a Mississippi State fan, the sense of urgency, they now fall to 20-10, 8-9 in league play. Texas is now 17-13, 6-11 in league play. Texas now, I believe when I checked this morning, Texas is now sitting at 41st. Well, they were 46 going into the day yesterday. Moved up 5 spots. Big win for Texas. What is up for Texas? What's next for Texas? They finish up the season with Oklahoma at home. They got to have it. That would get them to 7 wins. I think they got to go win another game in Nashville. So that win in Starkville gave them an opportunity. It gave them an opportunity to go make a run for the NCAA tournament. Come in Nashville next week. I mean, again, sad Wednesday, folks. There's going to be a lot of meaningful games. I mean, for that first week. I mean, there really are. There are going to be a ton of meaningful games. Texas definitely has to beat Oklahoma at home. They've already beat them in Norman, but then they have to go get another win in Nashville. For Mississippi State, is what it is, but you're really starting to falter back to that 8-9 seed conversation there. It's kind of what it is at this point. Again, this team's kind of not playing its best basketball right now. I mean, lost 3 out of 4. They go to Arkansas this week. They better come in with a sense of urgency there, because Arkansas feels probably pretty good about where they are from an NCAA tournament seed after beating Vanderbilt, but they're going to be hungry and needing that win as well. So Mississippi State better get it together. Just getting off to a slow start is what I think ultimately hindered them. But no, big win for Texas. Back from the dead, essentially, is kind of what it feels like. At least in my opinion, that's what it kind of feels like for Texas after that big win. Let's go to the number 1 team in the country taking a loss, 83-72. Big win for Buzz Williams and Texas A&M. Denver Jones did not play for Auburn. Auburn drops to 27-3, 15-2 now. Again, they've already won the SEC outright. Texas A&M improves to 21-9, 10-7 in league play. A&M couldn't got Auburn in a better spot. They could not have gotten them in a better spot. Coming off clinching the SEC win and SEC title, they promoted it all over social media. Again, there was somewhat of a distraction. Denver Jones has the bone bruise. He's key in making shots from the perimeter when people double Janai Broome, and that's what the Texas A&M defense does traditionally. I mean, very similar to what Mississippi State does defensively in Chris Jans. But Texas A&M shoots 43% from the field, 36% from beyond the arc. Auburn, 50% from the field, 40% from beyond the arc. The rebounds was a little surprising. A&M got after them, 41 to 25, plus 16 in turnover margin. Janai Broome looked a little banged up, had to leave with a shoulder injury. Came back, didn't look long-term, except maybe lingering, but none of us would know that unless you're in the building. Points in the paint, 36 to 28, Texas A&M. A&M's biggest lead was 13, and they led from start to finish. They were up 40 to 34 at half, and outscored Auburn in the second half. So pretty commanding, not dominating, controlling win here for Texas A&M. Hey, A&M's improving, trying to get that 3 or 4 seed. Ended a 4-game losing streak, had to do it. They got Auburn in a perfect spot. If you're Auburn, again, you want to be playing your best basketball, and it's a fine line in basketball because you want to be playing your best basketball, but you also don't want to risk some injuries like with Denver Jones and potentially Janai Broome, which I think is going to be fine. You get Tahad Pettiford play a lot more minutes. He didn't look as comfortable, which is fine. I mean, it's a blessing in disguise. Get him those minutes he may need come March. For Texas A&M, 16 points for Wade Taylor, 11 for Anderson Garcia, 10 for Manny Obaseki, 19 for Zurich Phelps. He was key. He had a big game. And then Pharrell Payne with 12 for Auburn. Janai Broome with 8 and 7, not the walking double yesterday. 15 for Chad Baker-Mazzaro, 19 for Tahad Pettiford, who I thought played pretty well yesterday. Again, had 3 turnovers, but first real minutes now with Denver Jones being out yesterday, and 12 points for Miles Kelly. I mean, this game, think about it more for A&M fan. There was a lot more to gain for Texas A&M going into this one. They're now 21-9, 10-7, improving seed line. Auburn will regroup, get back together, go try to finish it against Alabama, finish the season sweep at Alabama before the SEC tournament. I'll be interested to see what their game plan is going to that. Bruce isn't going to come out and say they're just going to kind of rest some people and be on minutes count because they're going to want to go win the thing. They want to go defend their title. For A&M, you got to fit. I mean, A&M finishes the season here on Saturday at LSU, so you would think you would get that win as well. But I think you're looking more towards what A&M accomplished more towards than any. Am I worried about Auburn? I see people worried. No, it's one game, folks. It's one game in a tough spot coming off clinching the SEC regular season. You're going to a top 25 team who is hungry, has lost 4 straight, has had a tough stretch. They're getting you, one of your starters is out. I mean, is what it is. Is what it is. You got to flush it. Auburn finishes at home against Alabama on Saturday. They'd love to finish the sweep, but I think Auburn could lose to Alabama, and then lose their first SEC title game, and they're a 1 seed. Maybe not the number 1 overall, but they're certainly the 1 seed. And I think most would agree with that. A&M continuing to chip away at a top 3 or 4 seed. Moving on next, Georgia. Feeling pretty good about the Dogs being that 11 seed, getting the 73-64 win over South Carolina. Got a little hairy late, but Georgia shoots 48% from the field, 27% from beyond the arc. South Carolina, 37% from the field, 43% from beyond the arc. Georgia shot 14 more free throws in South Carolina. It's always interesting. The double figure free throws or more free throws on the road is always an interesting one to me. But anything noteworthy standing out? I mean, Georgia led this one pretty much from start to finish. I mean, yeah, South Carolina never led. Thought it was a good spot for Georgia with South Carolina coming in up. They beat Arkansas. Georgia had the big week, beating Florida, beating Texas. Mike White could get his team's attention to make, hey, don't go overlook going into Colonial Life Arena, guys. A lot of teams. I think Alabama's the only team that's beaten them by double digits. In Colonial Life, that still stands. Georgia got one by 9. But for Georgia, I kind of like them flexing their muscles. Like, gives me some confidence. I do think they're going to get one more win here. Or they got to win. I think they got to win 1 or 2 more. At Vandy will be tough. They're going to have to get one in Nashville. Nashville's getting more interesting. Georgia will be interesting. Texas will be interesting. But specifically here, Blue Kane with 14, Silas Demery with 16, Dylan James with 8, Asa Newell with 11. For South Carolina, I mean, it's always Colin Murray Bulls, folks. 24 points, 11 points for Nick Pringle. Not a great overall game for South Carolina. 64 points. Shot, I mean, the percentages don't look bad, though. You just didn't get a lot of shots off, really. But Georgia, they just got to keep chipping away. Big one on Saturday against Vanderbilt. I mean, you get that at home against Vanderbilt. I think 8 wins, they're in. 8 conference wins, they're in. They're sitting at 7-10 right now. I feel good about them right now, but one more win either against Vanderbilt on Saturday or in Nashville would do it. South Carolina, Lamont Paris, not the season they wanted. They wrapped the season up at Tennessee. Is what it is. Yeah, you got to go get that personnel better. You probably lose Colin Murray Bulls, but you need some more scores. It was just once people took him away, it was a struggle. I mean, Nick Pringle had some games, but other than that, 1 more game left or 2 more games left, really, or guaranteed. Maybe more. Maybe South Carolina goes on a run, folks. But South Carolina drops to 12-18 and 2-15 overall. Georgia improves to 19-11 and 7-10 overall. It's crazy. I usually do the next 3 games. We only got 1 left, folks. Arkansas, probably 1A, 1B, biggest wins of the night. 90-77 road win at Vanderbilt. Arkansas improves to 18-12, 7-10 in league play. Vanderbilt 20-10, 8-9 in league play. Arkansas shoots 50% from the field, 33% from behind the arc. Vanderbilt 38% from the field, 40% from beyond the arc. Plus 11 rebound advantage for Arkansas. Thought that was impressive. Is an improving Vanderbilt rebounding team. Points in the paint, plus 22 for Arkansas. That was probably Arkansas's best game of the overall season. I mean, Trevor Brazile. I mean, what are you going to say about him, man? Just a massive game. 16 points. Wasn't even the leading scorer, though. 21 points for Nelly Davis. He looked comfortable. Nelly Davis and Brazile looked really comfortable yesterday. They kind of had that shit-eating grin on them. They felt very confident, had a little edge to them. I mean, all Arkansas starting 5 was a 7-man rotation with their injuries right now. Big Z had 14. Carter Knox with 10. Brazile with 16. We mentioned Nelly Davis with 21. And then DJ Wagner with 14. This team looked comfortable. Phenomenal coaching job when you only had 7 guys. You had Billy Richmond and Jonas Adu coming into his own a little bit. Wasn't phenomenal, but 7 points, 8 boards. If you watch the game, you felt his impact. For Vanderbilt, it's one of their worst games. You just really thought they were never in it. It's kind of a game they weren't really locked into. I mean, you give Arkansas all the credit in the world, but I mean, McLaughlin finished with 12. Nickel finished with 16, 14 for A.J. Hogarth. They just got themselves in a hole too early. They were only down 6, but thought they were always trying to climb back. Vanderbilt falls to 20-10, 8-9. Not the end of the world. Vanderbilt's going to make the NCAA tournament. But really, Arkansas is the big story here. I think Vanderbilt, you just flush this one. You move on. You try to finish the season strong. What's next for Arkansas? Hosting Mississippi State. Big one. Big one. If they can get to that 8th win at home against Mississippi State on Saturday, they are in the NCAA tournament. Would feel good about Arkansas. For Vanderbilt, you're wrapping up the season at Georgia. So that'll be a big one. You're going to be in, but you could definitely have a chance to ruin Georgia's season. So just kind of a weird one here. Arkansas, I think one of the bigger winners of the day in the SEC. Them and Georgia, Texas, all big winners. The Bubbles were the big winners last night on Tuesday. That's the key to thing to remember. That's a big take I had. Vanderbilt, again, kind of like Auburn. You were in a weird spot. You'd won a lot of big games. You were due to lose a game. Like Cal said at South Carolina, it wasn't pretty. I'm not defending him, but he's like, we've been playing pretty good in the month of February. We were due to not play well. He was right. He was right. But they bounced back, get a big win. Everybody left them for dead. I didn't leave them for dead, but one of the worst performances of the season at South Carolina on Saturday, and they bounced back for a probably one of their better wins, if not the best win of the Arkansas season. I think just like Texas and Georgia, I think Texas needs 2 more wins. I think Arkansas and Georgia need 1 if you really want me to spell it out. And then Kentucky just dismantles LSU at home on senior night, 95-64. Kentucky improves to 20-10, 9-8. LSU drops to 14-16, 3-14. Kentucky, quickly, we'll get through this one. 50% from the field, 37.5% from beyond the arc, 44% for LSU, 27% from beyond the arc. I mean, really? Kentucky just was pretty lights out. I mean, almost, again, going for 100. I mean, off the top of my head here, you had Otega-Oweh coming back from not a great game against Auburn. They took him out of his element. Oweh had 24 points. You had Amari Williams with 9 and 6 boards. I mean, everybody's Ainsley Amelinor with 15, Brandon Garrison with 15. Senior night, I mean, you got after them. I mean, that's what Kentucky needed. They needed a dominant performance after a little bit of I think they played terrible in the first half. Second half, they didn't answer the bell against Auburn. But 95-64, there's really not a lot to break down from that. Kentucky's still trying to get in that top 3, top 4 range, and they finished the season at Missouri. I think one of the more interesting games to finish up on Saturday. That'll be a big one. And then LSU wraps up at home against Texas A&M, folks. But let's look at the SEC basketball standings before we get you out of here. Share the screen. Here we go. Share that screen for you. So as we see here, folks, Auburn 15-2, still they clinched it outright. I think the big game tonight, Florida and Alabama, loser is off the 1 seed. I don't think they can come back from it. So biggest game of the midweek, that'll be 7 p.m. Eastern tonight. Tennessee heads to Oxford tonight. They're at 11-5. Missouri 10-6. A&M now improves to 10-7. Ole Miss 9-7. Kentucky 9-8. Mississippi State 8-9. Vanderbilt 8-9. Arkansas 7-10. Georgia 7-10. Texas 6-11. Those are the 3 teams to watch, guys. Big winners from yesterday. Oklahoma 4-12. LSU 3-14. and South Carolina 2-15. So, I mean, we're getting in that realm, folks. Is the SEC going to get to 11? Are they closer to 11 or 13 teams? I don't know. I mean, we're probably in that 12 range now with the way Texas, Georgia, and Arkansas won last night. So plenty to go over. I know this is one of our shorter ones, guys. But again, when I react these next mornings, I want to get right to the meat and potatoes of you. Hit the main point. Key takeaways from yesterday. Big bubble day. Like I mentioned, Georgia, Texas, and Arkansas all still alive. I think Georgia and Arkansas are 1 wins away, either on Saturday against Vanderbilt for Georgia, Saturday against Mississippi State at home for Arkansas, or in Nashville, you pick up a win. I think Texas needs to beat Oklahoma and get another win or two. Probably another win, 2 more wins overall, including the SEC tournament. Like I mentioned, big win tonight, 1 seed off the line there. And if you're Auburn, I'm not worried. Not worried at all. Denver Jones didn't play. Great spot for A&M at home, needing a win, coming off 4 straight losses on senior night. So nothing to worry about, but I think it was a big bubble night. That's something to factor in. And also keep telling people every show I'm on, how does that 6-10 race shake out? I'll be interested in there. But guys, I appreciate you joining me for this reaction. I am your college basketball host here at the SEC Unfiltered channel. Go like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And remember, this reaction was brought to you by our proud title sponsor over at FANDUEL. Visit FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. But for Dave Shumate, I hope you have a great rest of your day.